From NBC News, this is Sunday Today with Garrett Utley and Maria Shriver.
Good morning. Glad you're with us once again. And a very good morning to Mary Alice Williams, sitting in for Maria Shriver. You're back from maternity leave, what, 3 months or so?
3 months. Great to be a mother, but great to be back.
Baby girl, right?
Yeah.
Proud mother?
Perfect. She's
Proud
perfect.
Perfect. All babies are perfect.
That,
We'll have the news in just a moment. Al Roker will bring us the weather. The top news story is a deadly fire in the early morning hours in New York City. We'll have a report on that. And then, among other things this morning, we are going to see how children are being tested in schools. Standardized achievement tests, they are called. They show not only what a child has learned, but also what a school has achieved in teaching that child. And now there is evidence across the nation that some schools are doing things they should not be doing in order to raise the score results to make their achievements look good. Who's cheating whom? That's our cover story this morning. We call it Cooking the Books.
And Garrick, there's a lot at stake in this matter for the schools, for the teachers, certainly for the kids. American education, as the 80s began, it had a failing grade, but since then the tremendous pressure on educators to demonstrate excellence has brought with it the temptation to cheat. Are our children the ones being cheated?
Turn to page 4 of your test book. You may begin.
If you have a child in public schools right now, do not believe the test scores that come home from your school, because there's a good chance they're simply fraudulent.
Next month, nearly every grammar and junior high school student in America will be taking a standardized achievement test. Not the SAT College Boards, but tests for younger students, like the California Achievement Test or the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. And when the scores are printed in your local papers, it's a safe bet every school will have improved its scores over last year's and stand well above the national average, which is mathematically impossible.
It's called the Lake Wobegon effect, after Garrison Keillor's town in Minnesota, where all the children are above average.
Dr. John Jacob Cannell was a family doctor who found many of his teenage patients depressed. They were doing poorly in school, but their standardized tests showed them well above average. He founded Friends of Education and began looking into the discrepancy.
The nation as a whole is not doing well, but you never know it if you read the official publications of the 50 states. Here's the Maryland Accountability Testing Program, and they're way above average and improving every year. And here's Oklahoma. They claim they're way above average and they're improving every year in their Metropolitan Achievement Test. And here's Georgia on their Iowa Test of Basic Skills, way above average and they're improving every year. It causes this dichotomy in American education. We're a nation at risk, but all 50 states are okay. That makes no sense.
Standardized tests were designed to show teachers which of their students needed help. But the tests have become a report card not for the students, but for their teachers, their principals, their entire school systems. Bad scores mean people get fired. Good scores mean teachers get extra merit pay, school systems get extra grant money. They can even increase real estate value in communities. The stakes have become so high that across the country, the teacher's mission is distorted. Iris Mitzner has taught for 34 years in New York's Goshen School District. As language arts coordinator, she'd marked the 5th grade writing test since 1983. In 1988, she says her principal stopped her in the hall.
She said to me that I had graded the scores the old-fashioned way. She felt that I had graded them too severely, and she wanted to know if I could test them more liberally. I looked at my principal and I said, I use the state-mandated criteria. She seemed annoyed, and she walked away from me. My principal took another teacher and put her in charge of the test. And this teacher did what I refused to do.
And Goshen scores went from 196th to 7th in New York in just 4 months with no new programs. As for Mrs. Mitzner,
I was removed as language arts coordinator. I was removed from the grade. I was removed from the school. I was being punished.
Mrs. Mitzner blew the whistle, went to the State Department of Education. Officials rescored the test, downward, but let the school's ranking stand. Other teachers have reacted differently to the pressure of high-stakes tests. In South Carolina, low scores can mean the state will take over a school district. Nancy Yergin was voted Teacher of the Year in 1987. In 1988, she got the test in advance, realized her students hadn't even been exposed to the subjects being tested, and decided to cheat. She gave her kids the answers and admitted it.
My recommendation is that you make sure you're dealing in content that you know these children have had and are familiar with and have been exposed to. That's called fairness.
Nancy Jurgen pleaded guilty to criminal charges, was fined, and fired.
When parents pick up these test scores, they have to understand these samples have been violated. The children, in many cases, have been taught the exact answers. And in fact, in some cases, the principals have gone down and erased the children's wrong answers and filled in the right ones.
And that's exactly what happened in California in 1986 and 87. The scandal caused such outrage, the Los Angeles Teachers Union for a time refused to have its members administer the test.
So what we've done is we've let the same people who were assessing do the assessment. That's like letting individual taxpayers audit themselves.
Even in schools where there's no outright cheating, the scores are artificially inflated because the same grades are taking the same test year after year. The teachers know the material and teach to the test.
I don't think you can probably eliminate cheating altogether unless you have secure forms that nobody's ever seen the test before, which would add greatly to the costs of testing.
David Deffley is president of McGraw-Hill's testing division, which publishes the California Achievement Test, the most widely used in the country.
As the stakes get higher in a school district, if the superintendent or a principal of a school or teachers in a classroom are under tremendous pressure to raise test scores, then they are more tempted to begin to teach the children directly the test.
McGraw-Hill is no longer including answer keys in the test packets and is looking for inexpensive ways to develop brand new tests each year, all to avoid cheating. But it makes a lot of money publishing coaching material for the tests.
Their California Achievement Test is designed to be cheated on. In fact, McGraw-Hill also publishes some additional materials that allow teachers to cheat on the test, called the CAT Preparation Manual. And the CAT Preparation Manual is simply a crib sheet for the California Achievement Test.
How does this affect the children? Well, teachers can spend so much time teaching the test material that they fail to teach the underlying concepts. So the kids aren't really learning how to think, yet go home with a sense of accomplishment. And what happens when they have to take the real high-stakes tests?
And the first legitimate test that American students take is the college entrance scores. They take ACT and SAT scores, and then many times they're in for a rude awakening. Children that have been in the 95th percentile on their Iowa test of basic skills all through their school career will get a very low score on the College Board or the ACT.
The U.S. Department of Education doesn't monitor these tests. They're developing their own national assessment tests, which will show how America's students compare with the rest of the world. Current indications are they don't compare well. But in the meantime,
parents need to know that these are clear and simply fraud. This is consumer fraud. This is an attempt to convince you that the national education crisis doesn't exist in your community.
Remember, Dr. Cannell got interested in this because as a physician, he was treating kids for depression. They knew that there was a difference between their own limits and what their test scores were showing. So it's another compelling argument for parents being involved in their children's education.
And again, the question is who's cheating whom?